Hey Jews, let's look at reality together and try to understand what's going on from the Torah perspective and the wisdom of the Torah and how important it is to have some wisdom in order to have any understanding of our reality. And this is something that I'm seeing in my own life, and what I'm seeing also when I'm interacting with other people, especially Jews, who are questioning reality and wondering what's happening. What's the anti-Semitism, October 7th, all the things that are happening, and trying to make it make sense. And what is the nation of Israel? What is the purpose of Judaism? Why are we Jews? So I want to talk about minimum viable truth and objective reality. Okay, and so like I said, in the last few videos, I've been discussing, learning about, and talking about levels of consciousness and creation. What's the purpose of man? What's the purpose of creation? What's the purpose of the reality? Is there a purpose? Is everything random? And going through the conscious levels of mineral, plant, animal, speaker, and Israel, and exploring the unbroken chain of information that was passed down through the lineage of the nation of Israel. And this is why we are the nation of Israel and what it all means. So those are my past videos. I especially also break down what the difference between a chai medaber, an animal who can speak, okay? That's a conscious level. If we are talking only about things that are physical, materialistic, instinctual, or something about desires or anything like that, we are using our function and our gift of speech, basically, to drag us down, okay? And not to seek our full potential as humans, as medaber chai, a different creation, that God blew breath into this creation and created a speaker, something new, something different, something special, something beloved by God. The actual purpose of this reality is so that the human being can realize a conscious state and an awareness of God and understand with wisdom and be wise with understanding. So I think, like I've been saying, we have to ask ourselves, is this what you are thinking about? Is this what you are speaking about? Are you aware at all of this purpose? Are you aware of the information that's in the Torah that was given in an unbroken chain throughout history, and that you know with an absolute knowledge and understanding, you know that this is objective reality? The Torah is telling us also the entire timeline, the time, okay, because reality is 5-dimensional. 3 are physical, 1 is spiritual, and 1 is time, and we know the whole story, okay? So there was a beginning, there was a middle, and there is an end, and we know what that is. It is the redemption, and that is all connected to the nation of Israel and all of the information in the Torah. So again, we can only understand or know if we are understanding reality properly if we ask ourselves that. If you have never questioned that, then that would be a good hint for you to try to see if you're making decisions in your reality based off anything objective. Because as we can see, truth over time, if you are going to try to always go towards the minimum viable truth, and we're going to talk about this, where instead of seeking an absolute truth, okay, and trying to align our reality and our understanding and our consciousness, our awareness, okay, to the objective reality in which we know that there is a God. And we know what that means and how he wants us and commands the nation of Israel to live by these laws, okay? So we also have to ask ourselves, am I living by those laws? If you as a Jew have never asked yourself or even know what the laws are, then again, we can't understand reality properly. And you haven't asked yourself, am I understanding reality properly? Okay? Because what information are you using to answer that question? Okay, so a very important thing that we've learned is the ability to speak and how it can either drag us down to become like an animal, and how there are groups of people around us that are pushing us towards the minimum viable truth and not the absolute truth, okay? Because they have an invested interest in keeping us as low conscious followers, okay? Because that's the whole concept of a Chai Medaber, is that you can herd the sheeple, okay? You now decide you're now moving through minimum viable truth towards a different absolute truth, which is shoved down everybody's throats, as we can see, okay? That you will comply and you will now affirm this lie as truth, okay? You will affirm now that a man can have a baby. Men can have a period. Men can have a baby, okay? When that is a lie. How do we know that that's a lie? Because we didn't all agree that the way that we are created were man and woman. We know that. We know that because we understand with the wisdom how God made a man and made a woman. And that there is a role and a purpose for a man, and there is a different role and purpose for a woman. And we're not going to now entertain everybody's minimum viable truth, meaning some way that we can now change reality from a whole and complete shalem, which is also the root of the word shalom, peace, that we are going to fracture objective reality into subjective relativism, okay, and affirm that everyone has their own truth. And what we need to do is to try to accommodate everybody's fractured concept of reality and fractured understanding of some sort of truth, okay? And we have to pull everything into the middle ground where we can all agree. Okay, so now no longer is there an objective history, okay, a chronicle of all human existence from the beginning of time up until now, 5,785. But now we're all going to agree on some sort of history, which can be changed, has been changed, and is continuing to be changed by those who are in charge of the information. Okay, and now in the digital age, what we are seeing is that information can be changed subtly, okay? Almost you don't even notice it until something, all of a sudden it seems like a big movement is happening where now we are writing into the laws of the land that men can have babies and men can have periods and there is no gender and whatever, just like we wrote into the textbooks, okay, that we all evolved out of animals. And we all believe that. And we all base all of our understanding of reality off of what we learned, what we were taught, what we were trained to memorize and to incorporate into our consciousness. And also had things working on our subconscious. Okay, at the same time to reinforce this plurality. And we're told that this plurality of everybody's truth is valid and beautiful. And it's beautiful to embrace this total chaos. It's beautiful to embrace that. Okay, no longer do we want the perfection and the shlemut and the shalom, the peace, with knowing objective reality, knowing the purpose of our lives, knowing the purpose of creation, understanding how everything happens a little bit to the best of our ability, and by following the proper laws to achieve an elevated version, an elevation, okay, in the level of consciousness from what we were created as, Medaber Chai, something more than an animal, something more than just an animal who can talk, but rather somebody, a being that recognizes and knows and has a fear of their creator and is trying to understand the wisdom, understand with wisdom, and be wise with understanding. Okay, so this minimum viable truth is saying, instead of me, anyone, trying to convince you or help you learn for yourself or tell you to go learn for yourself the objective truth, instead of that, we'll all have our own versions of the truth, whatever makes sense to us based on our experience, like an animal, okay? What we can experience, what we can see, smell, taste, do, feel, okay? How our perception of reality, our feelings are valid in every single moment, even though we know that we can be irrationally feeling certain things. That has no, we need to anchor our brains to the Torah, because this is objective reality and the objective truth that was given in an unbroken chain. So minimum viable truth is actually something that we've seen and we learn, okay, in the Torah. Because so part of the reason to learn the Torah is so that we will obtain some knowledge, some understanding of how to use our brains, how to look at certain things that are happening, like minimum viable truth. And I was just watching, this whole concept came from a TED Talk of Catherine Marr in 2022. I have a video about that where I showed the clip of that, where she's talking about that. And she was the CEO of Wikimedia, which owns Wikipedia. Okay, so if you think that everyone is just contributing truths and objective facts to Wikipedia, then you're wrong. Everything, all of our information is directed. Okay, it's directed. And this is the way that Esav, the son of Yitzchak, the brother of Yaakov, Avinu, okay, who is trying to destroy Israel, trying to destroy and erase this level of consciousness from reality, which anchors us in objective reality, which insists on the truth, insists on the truth, insists on this timeline, insists on this ending of redemption for the nation of Israel, okay, insists on this fear and knowledge and awareness of God in our reality. Excuse me. So Esav and his descendants forever throughout time are trying to erase this consciousness, erase this reality, and tell you what to think. Tell you, first of all, that we're all going to distort the truth and fracture reality and have minimum viable truth where we all agree together so we can all get along despite our many, many, many differences and very like complete opposite understandings of morality and ethics and whatever, okay? No longer are we all going to strive to understand what the best, most peaceful way to do things is, because it's from the wisdom of the Creator, but rather we're going to make everybody feel comfortable somehow, or uncomfortable as it is, turns out, to try to find some middle ground. And when we inevitably cannot, then they're going to swoop in to now bring back order to this chaos by telling us what the new normal is. The new normal. They're going to build back better. So they're going to fracture and distort reality, make us all crazy animals, okay? And then they're going to reassemble reality into an absolute truth that is just completely opposite of the Creator's wisdom and the actual objective truth, okay? So that's the role of Israel, of the nation of Israel, is try to obtain this consciousness. The only way we can obtain this consciousness is to work on our souls. And how we do that is by following the Torah laws to the letter of the law to become a tzaddik, a righteous person. And every single person, every single Jew can be a righteous person. How? Just follow the laws. Okay, but what a lot of people don't want to do is change. Yes, I can see what you're saying, you might say to me. I can see how you're saying that the distortion of an objective reality can fracture, you know, our own consciousness, and can fracture the understanding of reality and truth, and that how this is dangerous, and how also because information is controlled, it's dangerous not to anchor yourself in an objective truth that was passed down over time with it all documented. It's all documented. So, I mean, you are seeking the truth, perhaps. Are you seeking the absolute truth and basing your understanding on that? Or perhaps have you just abandoned seeking the absolute truth and now you're just looking for some sort of minimum viable truth that feels better and is, of course, more inclusive? Okay, so we see over and over also in the Torah, you know, things that reinforces understanding. And in Genesis 1:27, for example, it says that human beings were created in the image of God, endowed with the capacity for speech, reasoning, and moral choice. These qualities differentiate humans from animals whose existence is primarily instinctual. The sages describe humanity as standing between the animals and the angels. But in fact, that's here, Medaber Chai. Okay, we have the ability to know and understand that we were created in the image of God. And that's very interesting because we are also told. It's not like we just think that maybe we're created in the image of God. We're told that in the Torah. So that's made known to us. That should make us seek out what that means. So by following the laws of the Torah and internalizing its wisdom, meaning you have to let it change you. You can't keep living your life in the same way after finding out that there are objective truths and realities, and the way to understand that is to perfect your soul, and the way to perfect your soul is to live by the laws of the Torah. So in Deuteronomy, in Dvarim 4:6, it states, observe them carefully, the laws of the Torah, for this is your wisdom and understanding in the eyes of the nation. And that's a whole nother thing that I'm not going to get into right now, again, like most of my videos, where I talk about the state of Israel versus the nation of Israel, the concept of Israel, the information that the lineage has, and how we're supposed to be living in our reality, and especially in the land, the holy land of Israel, which should be by the Torah laws, okay, not by the laws of the people who all agree to try to get to some minimum viable truth. So the covenant given to Israel is not only a privilege, but our responsibility to preserve objective truth and in our reality over time. And we are here again at the end times, 5,785. So the Torah serves as a bulwark against the forces of chaos and falsehood that seek to distort reality. And in Jeremiah, the prophet, one of the prophets that prophesies about the end time in 33:25, he declares God's covenant with the laws of heaven and earth ensure the stability of creation. Humanity, and particularly the nation of Israel, is tasked with upholding these laws to maintain this stability. So, I mean, as long as reality exists, okay, this is in place. And that's why, if you ever ask yourself, how come they haven't managed to wipe out the nation of Israel? Because as we can see, even in our own times, that's what they want to do. Why haven't they been able to do it? We never had the state of Israel before. So how did this happen? Because it was always God. Because we know that. Because we know that with a certainty, our consciousness. We are conscious of the fact that God has been saving us this entire time because we know the information. We have the understanding. We are understanding reality with wisdom, and we are being wise with the understanding. So in the current era, it's marked by widespread information control and ideological manipulation, as we have seen, especially since COVID. And this mirrors the historical attempts by ruling powers to suppress higher consciousness. And we've seen this with the burning of the library in Alexandria and all of the information that the Vatican holds that we don't have access to, as well as any new technology or any new understanding that is protected by top secret classification, or whatever, confiscated by the Department of whatever in the military and the military industrial complex, okay, DARPA and all that thing, all those things, the CIA, where there's certain echelons of society that have access to more information. And as we have seen with like Facebook and everything, and whatever you think about elections or not, or if you even care about them or not, but we can see how a lot of public opinion is shaped by those who are fact-checking information and hoarding it. So the efforts aim to reduce humanity. Again, do not think for yourselves. Do not come together to speak about ideas and wisdoms and try to evaluate if morality, if what we are thinking, saying, and doing is aligning with this higher wisdom, to elevate ourselves beyond a mere animal who can talk, Chai Medaber, but which we're easily controlled there and exploited. Okay, so by contrast, the Torah empowers individuals to think critically, discern truth, and resist such manipulation. And in fact, like I was saying, this whole concept of minimal viable truth is a tactic employed by Esav when they went to bury Yaakov Avinu. Okay, he started bringing out reasons and his own beliefs and his own view of the situation where he should be buried there instead. We can't bury Yaakov Avinu there. And the 12 tribes engaged in this kind of manipulation to distort the objective reality and the objective truth, and thereby knowing and how to understand what to do, which was to bury Yaakov Avinu right away. But they delayed that because they were engaged in other concepts, other ideas, trying to make everybody happy, perhaps. Okay, but we're told that the son of Dan, Hushin, the son of Dan, who was deaf, okay, and couldn't speak. So he was just more at a higher level of consciousness, and he realized he didn't understand what was going on because he wasn't engaged in this type of fracturing of reality and thinking about other options and other whatever. But right away he killed Esav, and they focused on reality. Okay, so that's what's happening. That's what this is. So anytime now we want to include people, even though it's for example, like drag queen story book time or whatever, okay, for children. Like, we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. We want everyone, whatever it is the right thing to do, okay? Because morality also never changes over time. The laws of morality are in place forever because they are righteous, okay? So anything that would be different from that, we have to ask ourselves if that's okay or not, and realign ourselves with objective reality in order to prevent us from falling down to become just mere animals that are just all emotions, like a dog, kelev, all emotions. So now you can't even express yourself, but when something offends you, something hurts you, something makes you feel unsafe, you just melt down into a complete emotional meltdown, tantrum, like a not a human, not a thinking, speaking, understanding, mature adult. Okay, so that's what the Torah is here to do, is to help keep you as an independent. I'm not telling you that you should think anything. I'm literally saying to every Jew that not only is it our obligation and we were commanded to learn the Torah, but we need to learn the Torah. You need to learn the Torah because that's the wisdom. And that's how you're going to understand reality and stop wondering what's going to happen. Are we going to be okay? What's going to happen with anti-Semitism? Is Israel going to be blown up? Are they going to destroy the Jews? Is there going to be another Holocaust? What happened on October 7th? Why didn't the IDF save any Jews? Why did they stand down? All these things, okay? Because with our conscious minds, we have to know and be aware that there is a God, and God saves the nation of Israel. The nation of Israel needs to merit that by following the laws and just being at least righteous, okay? And not changing them, not doing other things, okay? Like Chassidut, all of Chassidut, okay? And I talk about this in other videos. I'm not going into it right now. And anyone who says anything other, really honestly, I don't feel like they have any understanding. Okay, and usually those are the rabbis that also said you should take the vaccine that was untested during COVID. So achieving a higher level of consciousness requires an active pursuit of wisdom and understanding. You're not going to just understand without ever having tried to understand. It's actively you have to participate in pursuing wisdom and pursuing the truth. So in Pirkei Avot 3:18, it states, "Beloved is man, for he was created in the image of God," as we said. It's even greater that he was made known to him that he was created in the image. Okay, so again, this awareness of the divine potential must be cultivated through study and action. And that's why I talk a lot about Mesilat Yesharim, and especially in chapter 1, the Ramchal explains that the purpose of life is to draw close to God through the perfection of one's character, okay, which is only going to happen if you actively work on it, if you know that you're working to improve your characteristics and improve yourself, okay? Self-help, all those self-help books from the 80s and 90s, okay, they're just guessing on how you should do that. This is the actual roadmap, okay, not only to reality, but also to you, to how to perfect you as a person, and involve past Chai Medaber, okay, an animal who can talk, and evolve past Medaber Chai, a speaker that infuses his words with wisdom and understanding, to Yisrael, the highest level of consciousness and perfection, because it's a spiritual practice. And the Gaon from Vilna, in his commentary on Mishle in 1:7, highlights the necessity of reverence for God as the foundation of wisdom, okay? Because as King Solomon says in Mishle, that the beginning of wisdom is the fear of God. So you have to be willing to change, Jews, okay? We have to be willing to do that. We can get to a certain point where now if it means actually keeping Shabbat or keeping kosher, or if it means moving so you live near a shul that you can go and pray and you can keep Shabbat, then that's what it means. You have to align your life with objective reality. You can't split. You can't split it now to accommodate for what you want to do, okay, which like an animal, I'm not saying you're an animal, but like an animal. An animal wants to do that, an animal will do it. He's not searching to change himself. He's living by his nature. We want to keep doing certain things. We want to drive on Shabbat. We want to go out. We want to eat at better restaurants than kosher restaurants or whatever. Okay. But we're not willing to change if that means realigning with the morality, the unchanging morality that helps anchor us in objective reality, which is peaceful. So in Hosea 14:10, which is a prophecy for the end time, and an important prophet, and I became aware of Hosea ben Beeri right after October 7th because of Kibbutz Beeri. I have a video on this, how it happened, how I became aware. I didn't know about this prophecy. I never really read the prophecies that much, okay? But I noted the fact that the prophet's name is Hosea ben Beeri, and I read the prophecy of 14, which talks a lot about repentance, because ultimately, Jews, in order to have any understanding, in order to walk in the righteous path and perfect your soul and obtain any consciousness, you have to return in teshuvah. You have to repent to God. So that's one of the main one of the main points of Hosea's prophecy. And again, you can go see in my video about that. Maybe I'll link it in the description here. But in Hosea 14:10, he affirms the enduring clarity of the Torah's teachings. The ways of the Lord are right. The righteous walk in them, but the transgressors stumble in them. Those who align themselves with divine wisdom achieve clarity and stability. Okay, shlemut, shalom, peace. While those who reject it descend into confusion and chaos. This dichotomy underscores the necessity of adhering to the Torah as a means of achieving higher consciousness and safeguarding objective truth in our reality. That chas v'shalom, we don't all one day think that we know that men can have babies and that there are no genders and that we evolved from monkeys. Okay, chas v'shalom, that's the understanding we have of our reality, and other people who know more can easily mislead us, because again, like King Solomon says in Mishlei, in Proverbs, that a fool, because they don't have any knowledge of their own, okay, they just believe the experts, okay, what the experts are telling you, what the news is showing you, okay, with no knowledge of Project Mockingbird or the CIA's infiltration of our free independent news, okay, and all of that stuff, and the hoarding of information in the digital age by big tech companies and all the things that we're seeing in our reality, okay? Chas v'shalom, that you don't get any of your own information, because like King Solomon says, a fool then doesn't have their own information, a fool. And a fool is easily misled, okay? So the idea here for what I'm saying in pretty much all of my videos, is that we have to know what the purpose of the nation of Israel is. We have to understand our history, okay, by learning it in the Torah. And we have to make ourselves available to understanding this information by purifying our souls. How do we do that? We learn and follow the laws of the Torah. We are willing and open to changing how we live our lives, okay? Even if it means losing all your friends, having to move away, whatever it means, you must seek the absolute truth to anchor yourself in objective reality and to increase your consciousness. Hopefully, at least to Medaber Chai, speaking about something that means something, speaking about the wisdom, trying to seek the understanding and awareness of this information, which leads to a connection with God. If you don't have a connection with God, then, I mean, you can't say that, you can't wonder if you have a connection with God, right? You have to know if you do or not. You have to know that. Do you cry out to God? Do you talk to God? Do you seek to know God? Do you follow God's laws? I mean, that's how you know. And that's how you know if you understand.